We're glad to have you back. Well, let's continue our conversation. And Dr. Bamidele Ayemibo, lead consultant and chief executive officer, we're at 3T Impex Consulting, has been making sense of the importance of exports for a country like Nigeria. Now, Dr. Ayemibo, my next question will be the need to address issues of informal and cross-border trade along the trade corridors is something that remains very important. Also, sourcing of funding to drive export activities. Before we now go to increasing capacity building for exporters, where are we with regards to all of this that I just mentioned?
Sorry, can you come again?
Okay, I am starting with the fact that the need to address the issue of informal and cross-border trade along trade corridors is something that is very important to aid trade facilitation. What do you make of that?
Yes, I mean, it is so important actually because we want to formalize them, but there are no incentive to be able to formalize them, because if they're already doing it informally and we're trying to bring them in, they are the ones that will have to say they want to come in because of what government is doing to those that formalize their trade. So if you are going to be able to bring the informal into formal, then we then have to create incentive. And this is where some of the grants and subsidies that government have given in the past come in to be able to support in such a way that the people we want to even repatriate the fund in the first place and also want to come into the formal space.
What about issues of...
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Can you hear me too?
All right. Yes.
All right, let's now talk about issues of funding export activities and also increasing capacity building for exporters. How well have we done along that route?
Those are the policy area I was talking about. Those are the policy direction I was talking about. The fact that we need policy around preparing small businesses for export to be able to get them export ready, also helping with the capacity building from existing exporters to be able to diversify their export basket. So, for example, we currently are shipping some commodities or some product or some manufactured goods, but there are some other products Nigeria have potential in that we are not doing so well in export. So, let me give a good example. We do a lot of commodity export, even though we need to move away from that. But the fact is still that we do a lot of commodity export. And it's not just Nigeria. US do a lot of commodity export. Netherlands do a lot of commodity export. A lot of countries do a lot of commodity export. So no commodity is bad in entirety, only that we also have to add value. But if we look at the commodity, we focus a lot of talk around cocoa, a lot of talk around cashew, a lot of talk around sesame. In fact, if you check the list of export products from Nigeria in terms of commodity and agro, you will see this product there. But there's other product like soybeans. Soybeans demand in the world. If you add the demand for maize, demand for cocoa, demand for cashew, demand for ginger, demand for sesame seed, add them all together, they are not up to the demand for soybeans in the world. And Nigeria can produce soybeans, but we're not looking at that. So we need to begin to build competencies on how do we grow this product in a way that we can be efficient and also have a very good yield per hectare and be competitive. So there's a need for a lot of capacity building, but for the new businesses, we need a lot of export readiness. Because in trying to grow the non-export volume, we should also grow the number of exporters. So do you know Nigerian exporter, according to Nigeria Export Promotion Council today, is not up to 1,500 companies. But we have over 40,000 importers. But we don't have up to 1,200. 1,500 exporters, both the formal and informal. Why? Because there's not enough being done to increase awareness and the need for us to generate more forex in order to be able to increase the value of naira.
I like that point you stayed with. A lot of work needs to be done by, of course, the regulators and of also the business people. They need to really get in. There needs to be that understanding between both sides. But let's talk about the AFCFTA, which to me is also a very important initiative. Dr. Ayemibo, I don't want this to just look like the normal talk shop. We remember AGOA. When AGOA came, we talked and talked and talked, and Nigeria did not get the best of it. Yes, you know where I'm headed. So now AFCFTA is on the front burner, and it's been this back and forth. At the time, our manufacturers didn't want to key in. At the end of the day, they were able to sign. But what do you think? Are we on track to really enjoy the benefits of this market?
Okay, now, the issue of AGOA is exactly the same issue we have with ETLS. We have a type of AFCFTA in West Africa called ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme. So if we have, in 30 years, we didn't do well with ETLS. Of course, ETLS, the level of awareness is not as much as AFCFTA now, maybe because of social media technology, a number of awareness on AFCFTA. Now, all these agreements, particularly, I like to use analogy for the AGOA. AGOA is like giving a child less than 1 year old a turkey lap, well garnished, but he doesn't have teeth to be able to devour the turkey. That's exactly what happened. A lot of protein, a lot of benefit to derive, but inadequate capacity to be able to enjoy that benefit. I'm praying that will not happen under AFCFTA. I think we are on course on AFCFTA. My major concern was before that we were not part of the guided trade initiative that many other countries have been part of and be able to do trial shipment to be able to give report back to the National Action Committee on AFCFTA to be able to report back to the Secretariat in Ghana, really making progress. We have been, I think it was last month, we now have had businesses, a number of them that have been able to get contract and ready to trade, a number of them now doing shipment under AFCFTA, which is a good news. But what we now need to do is, look, we can't separate AFCFTA for the challenge of export in general. The same issue that is not making us to grow export right now is going to affect AFCFTA. And come to think of it, under AFCFTA, what we will sell and sell well and efficiently under AFCFTA is manufactured goods, value-added goods. And this constitutes more than 60-70% of traded goods in the world. The reason is because majority of African countries are either middle income, lower middle income, low income economy. And with the level of inflation all around the world, that has eroded their disposable income. So they are pretty much living for survival. So they buy personal healthcare products, food items, fast-moving consumer goods, things they need to survive. And these are manufactured goods. We won't be able to sell most of the commodities we sell to Europeans and Asians to them. Meaning we also need to encourage manufacturing. Support manufacturing. The MPR is high. The cost of doing business is high. There's not enough power to be able to power business. So a lot of support, which is where, this is where we need subsidy. When we are talking about subsidy, this is the place. And many companies in the world subsidize and support manufacturing to be able to increase productive capacity for job creation, poverty eradication, and be able to grow non-oil export volume. So these are the things I'm hoping to see the government do to be able to help us maximize the huge potential of the AFCFTA.
So let me take you back to certification and standards issues. There's no time we talk about this and we won't talk about certification and standards issue because it remains very key. For me, I want Nigerian goods to be at par with goods that we see everywhere around the world. So are we also, or do you also think that the likes of the NEPC, Standards Organization of Nigeria, NAFDAC of this world, do you think that the regulators are also in tune with government in achieving this aim of proper certification and maintaining standards?
Yes, this one I will say yes. And I will say yes because I'm aware I've attended about 4 engagements involving NAFDAC in the last 2 months. 4 engagements involving NAFDAC, in which NAFDAC is doing a lot right now to stop the challenge of rejection in Nigeria. They had a number of issues around the way they are going about it, but they are having stakeholder engagement, and that must be commended. With the NAFDAC DG present herself, having direct conversation people asking her question with our director and resolving the issues. That, I say, must be commended. If what NAFDAC is currently doing is anything to go by, if we are able to follow through, if they are able to address the concern of the stakeholders, and they are able to ensure they do this thing in phases, so they don't put everything on their SEM at the same time and overwhelming them, but do it in phases and ensure that certification are done for different products out of Nigeria, I'm sure we'll solve that problem. They started the journey. It's a bit challenging because of the teething problem, but I think it's a policy in the right direction. The effort must be commended. The issue, the way they are engaging and the effort they are making to be able to interface with different stakeholders must be commended. And I think if this continues, we'll be able to reduce the issue of quality and issue around rejection of Nigerian products in the export market.
So let's have an outlook for the segment. No matter how difficult it looks, can we have a projection? What's the outlook for the export market despite local and international challenges?
I don't expect so much increase in volume of export in Nigeria this year, more than what we have last year, if we don't fix the issues exporters currently face as far as funding is concerned, because cost of funding now has gone up, as far as funding is concerned, as far as capacity building is concerned, as far as incentive is concerned to be able to grow the non-export volume. So we need to begin to see policy having to do with documentation, policy around funding, policy around export credit insurance to reduce the risk and make a number of banks to become more interested in funding non-export. If this is not done, I'm not expecting to see a lot of increase in non-export this year compared to last year. Probably will just be at the same part or slightly a little bit higher because this is not an election year, because the election last year affected the volume of trade. I don't expect to see, but I'm hoping if the government begin to take steps that are expected just to be able to grow the volume, to be able to encourage production, encourage manufacturing, encourage people who are driving this sector, then I hope to see a lot of increase in the volume of trade going into the last quarter of the year.
And that will be really good if we get to that point. Dr. Bamidele Ayemi, I must thank you so much, Lead Consultant, Chief Executive Officer, 3T Impex Consulting. Thank you for your time. We appreciate this.
Thank you for having me, and bye-bye.
All right, coming up on the show, we'll discuss developing economic issues